Hello and welcome to News Today. My name is Kimini Nyamani. Coming up, energy expert says demand by organized labor for government to review utility tariffs downward would greatly affect electricity production, saying we must bite the bullet and pay now. Ahead in business, Ghana drops 5 places to place 67th out of 189 countries in the latest World Bank Doing Business report. On the far in France, a fugitive senior Muslim Brotherhood leader detained by Egyptian authorities. Stay with me, I'll bring you details of these stories and plenty more in a moment. You're watching News Today. The Director of Policy and Research at the Africa Center for Energy Policies of view granting the demand of labor would spell doom for the country's economy. He said utility companies which especially depend on crude import to produce energy would be greatly affected if demands by labor is met.
Our utility companies operating, they must be able to demonstrate very good balance sheet to attract other independent producers. And so where I sit now, I see a doom for the country. We are not able to keep the utility companies running, especially beyond 2015 when you expect some drop in hydro, and we'll be needing more feed to get in the most expensive generation unit. And so it is important for us now to bite the bullet and then pay. It is no longer a question of willingness to pay. I think we've gone beyond that, but it is a question of how we can make our utility companies more reliable. As to whether we are able to pay or not, we'll have to depend on our own demand side management, because we need to pay what we can afford. And so if you're able to reduce our consumption through demand side management, then the question of ability to pay will therefore come in. Government go ahead and give in to the demand of labor, the consequences for the country as a whole will be unbearable. And so it's not important at all for government to give in to what labor is demanding. We appreciate the concern of labor for the difficult position in which they find themselves in by asking for the payment to be staggered over a period. But will that enable utility companies also to render services that will enable labor to perform its duties? These are very important and critical questions that we need to ask and find possible answers to them as a country. These utility companies, especially the generators that rely on some light crude to get a feed to fire the generation plant, will need an instant money to do that. Okay, and if the money is not coming forward, and therefore lack the necessary ability to purchase the light crude or to pay for the long-term purchase of gas, the difficulty going forward is we're going to have our lights off, and I don't know if that's what Labour wants.
Meanwhile, Deputy Interior Minister James Ogalga says declaration of strike by organized labor is unfortunate.
This is not the time to apportion blame and say whether the TUC is wrong or right. What I can say is that we have a country to develop. We have to move this country forward, and the president clearly is committed to the development and growth of this country. And that is why he has called upon the TUC to show some level of flexibility in dealing with the issues which have come up. They are national in their character. We are talking about the sustenance in provide the continuous provision of utilities such as electricity and water? How do we sustain that? I mean, clearly, Dr. Joe Abe's committee report has made that revelation that if we go below 60%, we will not be able to sustain the generation of electricity and water supply in this country. That is very instructive. And so it is my expectation that the TUC would listen, they would consider the outcome of the Dr. Joe Abe committee's work and change their mind. That is our expectation as a people. But as to whether the TUC has the right to go on demonstration or not, I guess that is a right. I mean, that is constitutionally guaranteed. But if they have to exercise that right, I mean, there is due process. They have to follow the laid-down procedure. They must act in accordance with the Public Order Act, notify the police, and so on and so forth. But we appeal to them to refrain from shutting down government business, because it's not in the interest of anybody. It's not in our national interest. We must all, as a people, move this country forward. If TUC decides to embark upon demonstrations, they would have to comply with the Public Order Act, which says that before anybody goes on a demonstration, that person must notify the police. And of course, if the police is unable to provide security, there are several options open to the police. The police can have recourse to the law courts, and if the law courts so think that the police have a genuine case, that they are unable to provide security because they don't have the numbers, the courts have time without number granted injunctions. That is left, I mean, to the courts to determine. We can, standing here, determine how the courts would act when such applications are brought before them. But our prayer is that we don't even get there. There is some opportunity for TUC and government to continue to negotiate. Government's doors are wide open, and government will continue to talk to the TUC with a view to finding an amicable solution to the current impasse. Our national security, I mean, is on top of issues. Nothing is going to be done to compromise national security. So the assurance is that we are safe in this country. It is our wish that we don't even get there. And as I said, TUC has presence in the entire country. If they decide to demonstrate, clearly some pressure will be brought to bear on the police service. We will rely on the police for their expert advice. If the police think that they would not have the numbers to police a nationwide demonstration, they will advise us and will act. But as we speak, the police has not given us any such advice, because nobody has even notified them to start with that. I mean, they intend to embark upon a demonstration. This government has equipped the security agencies very well, and you can testify to that fact. But the point I'm making is that whenever the police feel overstretched, that they would not be able to police a mammoth demonstration, what the police have done in those circumstances is to advise the ministry, and the ministry would in turn act. If you cannot, because you'd be overstretched in terms of numbers, there are certain options open to you. But as I said, we are not there yet, so I don't want to preempt what would happen.
Away from organized labor, the president of the Slum Union of Ghana, Philip Kuma, is calling on government to hasten up the adoption of the housing policy to address the high housing deficit facing the country. His comments come in the wake of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly's directive, which ordered residents of Old Fadama to put a stop to the erection of concrete buildings after fire rendered most of them homeless.
According to Philip Kuma, the government's directive on housing is unclear, stressing the need for policymakers to adopt a housing policy to address challenges.
It's difficult to hold anyone accountable because we don't have any housing policy in place that we can refer to and hold the authorities responsible. So my plea is that we should push so that the government of Ghana have a housing policy whereby they can address these housing issues. People are living here because of poverty. People are living here because the authorities have no alternative for the people. And so if there is any low-cost housing available, I can assure that nobody wants to live in this situation. So I think that will be the solution to the problem here.
After fire rendered more than 250 families homeless in the country's biggest slum community, Old Fadama, residents have already started putting up concrete structures. With nowhere to go and NADMO not offering any immediate help, residents have begun reconstruction of their homes. The AMA, however, ordered residents to stop reconstruction of concrete building until issues regarding the fire is properly addressed. But residents of Old Fadama seems to be adamant to the mayor's directive.
Rules versus the safety of the people. Which one do you think is paramount? You know, we appreciate the concern of the mayor, even advised that proper measures should be put in place before the structures are put up. That's not a bad idea. But then, where do we sleep until such measures are put in place? You know, if you are not affected, you can advise anyhow. But if you are affected and you have to sleep outside in the open, for how long can you do this? So that's why it's like people go ahead to put up these structures. It's not that we are being disobedient, but if you were in our position, what would you have done?
Meanwhile, a delegation of Amnesty International paid a visit to the community. The campaign coordinator of Zimbabwe, Vongai Chikwanda, called on African leaders to take up the issue of housing policy seriously.
I think it's very important for our governments to prioritize the issue of housing, nationally, regionally, because you find that the issue of housing has driven a lot of people deeper and deeper into poverty. And so it's very important for our governments to put this on their agenda and say, how do we provide the types of housings that governments can provide for, especially social housing. The one priority for all African governments.
The campaign coordinator for Amnesty International Ghana, Benis Na, laid emphasis on the issue of forcible eviction faced by slum dwellers.
These are Ghanaians, and so if we think that we need to evict them, then we need to engage with them and kind of support them in terms of finding alternative places of survival, instead of just taking them out of the place without helping them to find any other accommodation. Evicting people forcefully without following due process infringe on their rights.
The group is currently visiting slum communities in the country, raising awareness on issues facing slum dwellers.
Residents of Tuman in the Bunahafo region have been expressing worry about the failure of city authorities to clear several heaps of refuse at dump sites in the town. They fear there could be an outbreak of cholera if the refuse is not cleared.
Mountains of refuse dams decorate the municipality. Residents complain of offensive smell and flies in their homes. Suburbs including Jako, Abamo, Mamprusi-Line and Tuman markets have their surroundings completely taken over by refuse. At Jako, refuse has taken over half of the road, impeding movement of motorists. Children, oblivious of the danger, play close to and sometimes on these dumps. Our cameras also captured this overflowing waste container while residents continue to dump refuse on the ground. Traders complain the refuse container has not been emptied for the past 2 weeks and express their displeasure at the situation. Pupils of Tuman Presby Primary School have to sweep and pick refuse from this overflowing dump site behind their school and the Tuman Community Center. Some teachers who declined to comment on camera noted that the situation is impacting negatively on teaching and learning.
omomode no metu bola ni mfiri yesa iso tokura ne nam yefie uye aduane kura na bola dem ti esra ban se oni mpanyfo mo hwe na mo nka ho asem e se de ebre
na no me ye aduane chese ma kata so mbehwe na enwa nam so ti mi behwe ya na ya anwa ewum na mi yi no koto twene ade san che nsuo to ma so nsuo no pan kosi wo behwe na kakraka yem me peja nsuo ni na ba na behwe egu na ntwibinifo no mbe ma no mo ba ye ka mo boye mba no so ya ma botam se bo boye ba nti bola ne ha pa ye pa ti esra ban se so be bua ye de wondom ye no hunu ye mbobo no betu bola no ma ye
di se wo mo hwe bua ye na nya sa de nya uti wa wo fie na bola de wanim se first no kurampo bola na nduru se kurampo sama sama ba obetima asama wo ena we da ye nimu se no de se se de yanka na san bio.
In a move to intensify its war against child trafficking, 30 officers from the Anti-Human Trafficking Squad will undergo 3 days of training next month. The Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service says the officers selected from across the country will be equipped with modern anti-child trafficking skills.
The 3-day training will begin in November. According to the Director General of CID, Prosper Kwame Ablo, the department saw the need to organize training for its anti-human trafficking officers to equip them with the necessary technical and practical skills to combat this transnational crime.
It's appropriate for me to commend the Honorable Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, the Honorable Minister for Employment and Labour Relations, Management and staff of ILO, IOM, the U.S. Embassy and UNICEF for their commitment to the fight against child labor, smuggling and human trafficking. The Ghana Police Service considers this fight a shared responsibility, and we will therefore not relent in our efforts to contribute our quota for the common good of the society in general.
Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Nana Oyelitha, highlighted some of the policies her ministry is putting in place to support the CID in achieving results with the human trafficking training.
Our priority for this year, one of our priorities has been coming up with regulations to ensure that we better implement and coordinate human trafficking activities. So that has been laid in Parliament for this session. Yes, I'm happy that the Ghana Police Service is strengthening their capacity. And as you can see, they've been drawn from all over the country. As Ghana transitions into middle income status and we have increased sub-regional trade and integration, and we have people coming in and getting out of Ghana, and then we also acknowledge the fact that some traffickers bring victims to Ghana. That is, Ghana is a transit point. So they're brought to Ghana and taken to other places. They're also taken from Ghana and taken to other West African countries like Nigeria. So when we have the police officers and the CID officers who have the power to arrest, to investigate, and then in certain cases to prosecute, when we have them trained, then they are aware of the dynamics and then the emerging global trends.
Funding for the training came from International Labour Organization, ILO, and they are hopeful the rate of child trafficking in Ghana will reduce to the barest minimum after this training. Other partners, the U.S. Embassy, UNICEF and IOM, expressed their readiness to help the CID.
Former rector of the Ghana Institute of Public Administration, Professor Stephen Adai, has questioned why metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies continue to receive subvention from government. Speaking at a 3-day orientation workshop in Wa, the Upper West region, he asked government to stop funding MMDAs. Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The three-day orientation workshop is to refocus or reorient the leadership of metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies on the rudiments of local government administration. It brought together all municipal, district chief executives, district coordinating directors and budget officers of the various metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies in the region. Opening the workshop, the Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Ephraim Avianso asked MMDCAs to get to know the people so as to provide quality leadership. He cautioned MMDCs against ostentatious and flashy lifestyles.
And say it is me or the party person who told you that he has to do is a lie. President has the only prerogative, and that's the way I want to work. Work independently of me, but work under me. Be conscious that your quality took you there, and not that somebody took you there. That's the feeling, that's the wrong thing I've always had, and I'm sure people will come around. And now we have to come, look at the way he's treating us. He will give us the contract. And now he says, bossy, do your job and forget that I helped you or chairman helped you or somebody in your village or in Accra helped you. Be an independent GCE and work very well.
A former rector of the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, Professor Stephen Ade, who was one of 6 resource persons to the workshop, expressed worry over the continuous release of funds from central government for MMDAs.
I have the biggest corporation in Ghana, one of the biggest corporations in Ghana. They have all their bungalows on the hills there, they don't pay any rate. We will make a bylaw, we will get the assembly approve of it, and they don't pay, their buildings will be confiscated. I mean, it's a question of contributing your quota. I don't mean exploiting them. But if you live in a house which is worth $500,000 Ghana cedis and you cannot pay 10,000 for rate, who should be paying it?
He had the suggestion for the government in the Accra Metropolitan Assembly.
I don't see the reason why government should put a person in Greater Accra, in Accra Metropolitan Assemblies. If they set revenues, property rates and other things right, that should give them all the money they need. So there are some people, and what the government should be doing, unfortunately, we appoint such positions according to party. And of course, I'm not talking about going to the opposition to appoint a MC, metropolitan or municipal chief executive. Not that all. But you ask one, what are you going to do? If I'm appointing you as chief executive of Accra Metropolitan Area, you must give me an agenda.
Rafiq Salam's report from WA.
Back in the capital city, the National Fire Service is embarking on a tour for markets. This tour is to assess fire safety measures in the wake of a series of market fires which have led to the loss of property worth millions of Ghana cedis. My colleague Marion Toure has been on this tour with them, and she's joining us live from where she is at the moment. Hello, Marion.
So we are live here at the Cantonment Market here in Accra, where fire razed down shops a few months ago. We are here with the Ghana National Fire Service. They are here actually to take us round on a tour of what has happened a few months on, and also to see how safe the markets have become after all the, the talk that they have given to the market women. We have been on a tour about the past hour or so. We've been round. I have principally Anaglate, who is the PRO for the Ghana National Fire Service, here with me so that he can talk us through what we saw and the way forward. Good afternoon, welcome.
Afternoon.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Well, I'm doing very well. Yeah.
You have taken us around and we have seen so many things. A few months after fire razed this place down, it looks like nothing has changed, because when we came back, the structures are the way they used to be before. As a fire service man, what do you say to all of this?
Well, of course, it's unfortunate that we still have the situation that were before this fire occurs. When we go to the market, you don't need to be a technical person to realize that there are a lot of fire hazard within the premises. We still see people cooking, we're using gas to cook. We still see people tapping electrical sockets where they are overloading the end of it. We still see people having a whole lot of illegal activities that go in. If you look at the structures themselves that they are selling in, from the roofing down to the floor, it's all of combustible materials. And you look at their wares where they have packed the things were packed from the floor level to the ceiling, and there is no way for airing. Those things will also be part of causes of fires in here. So it appears there are no facilities here to prevent fires from occurring. Apart from that, there are no facilities again in here to ensure that when the fire occurs, it will be detected as early as possible, or it will even be able to be used to reduce the impact of the fires. We don't have any early detection and warning system here. We don't have hydrants here within the premises. We don't have any fire extinguishers or any firefighting facility within the premises. Looking at the people themselves, the way they are behaving, you realize that probably they might be doing this out of their own ignorance or whatever, that they just did not want to cultivate the fire safety culture to be able to ensure that their investments are protected, their lives are protected, and the environment are protected. Anything goes on here.
But as the body responsible for fire safety in our country, what have you done? Have you engaged the stakeholders? And I'm sure before you briefed us when we were coming, you said it would take a multi-stakeholder approach to do this. Have you sat down with the stakeholders themselves, the people who are in charge of the markets, to ask them to educate these market women on the way forward? And what results have you had?
Well, if it comes to fire prevention, especially in the market, we have other stakeholders to complement the effort of the fire service. That is why last year, November, the chief officer called stakeholders meeting at our headquarters, where we were able to let each and every stakeholder know what to contribute in fire safety measures. And so we had meetings with them, and then we are hoping that since we are able to demarcate the areas of our activities, all stakeholders will be able to ensure that they complement and then they contribute their quota to the effort of ensuring that fires are prevented. So yes, we had a meeting with them. We are hoping to have another meeting with them. We are hoping that they should do more than they are doing to ensure that fires are prevented.
Okay, you have the sole mandate of taking care of fires in this country. So if the stakeholders who you have engaged are not listening to you, you do also have a mandate of shutting down the market in the event that they're not listening, and you are thinking that this will cause something, it's hazardous. And so in the long run, let's shut it down and then start over. You have that mandate. Why aren't you enforcing it?
Well, we work within our law, LR 1724, that has stipulated clearly certain commercial premises that are supposed to have and to comply with our fire safety regulations, and especially to have fire certificate. When it comes to market areas, yes, they are. But looking at the nature of the markets that we have, they are not markets that you can get in there and to have certain, enforcement to be done. Here, for instance, you can't get in here to force any storeholder to have fire safety certificate. So it becomes difficult to get into the market and to close down the market when the custodians that are the assemblies are there. So what we did was to ensure that we had our fire safety audits in all the markets to identify fire hazards within these markets and to have our recommendations, submit this report to the assemblies to ensure that these recommendations need to be implemented by the assemblies to avert some of these fires from occurring. So we are hoping, it is for the assemblies also to go ahead to implement these recommendations. When they are not doing it, we keep trying to ensure that we push them to ensure that it is done. But since these recommendations are not being done, what again we think we should do is to have market prevention teams getting into the market to educate the people themselves to ensure that there are certain activities that can also cause fire. So if they know what to do, they might be able to prevent some of those fires. So we have the team that have been coming in to educate them, but the fires keep coming. So we again have a team that come in here to patrol the market from morning till the evening. They ensure that at the close of the market, all those electrical gadgets, the fires that they use, are disposed of properly, and then the firemen assist them. We are again asking for containers that will be used as temporary fire posts. That will be manned by fire personnel 24 hours in the market to monitor activities that go in here. So we are still in link with the assemblies. We are hoping they should just, implement those recommendations. But if they are not doing this, I think we are limited. The only thing that we can do is to ensure that we continue to let them understand that it is important that they come on board to ensure that their contribution is made for us to prevent some of these crimes.
Okay, but before you go, I wanted to ask, do you feel that you're not getting the cooperation of the assemblies in relocating the traders from here?
Oh yes, I believe strongly. I wouldn't know what their challenges are, but if as of now they are still here, whatever plan the assemblies have for them, I will not be able to tell. But if they are here, then they are not meeting the safety standard, then they are becoming unavoidable hazards that needs to be monitored. That there are several activities that needs to be put in place to ensure that that unavoidable hazard is monitored and prevented from exploding. That will cause a whole lot of situation in here. So the assembly should be able to tell us why they are here. If they are to remain here, then there are a lot of safety measures that need to be put in place so that even if the fire occurs, we the firemen can get in here and be able to fight the fire, so that as early as possible, the situation where accessibility becomes a problem. With what we are having here now, you realize if there is fire here now, we will still have a problem with accessibility.
Thank you so much. So you've just heard from Prince Billy Anaglete, who is the PRO for the Ghana National Fire Service. We are coming to you live from the Kantamanto market here in Accra. We have been on a tour today of some markets that were razed by fire a few months ago, and the same situation persists. Just like I reported from Sodom and Gomorrah, everything is normal. They are going about their business. They are so blasé about everything that is happening here, but we are hoping that the assemblies have heard and they will take a cue from this and relocate these people to somewhere safe for all of us. For Joy News, Marian Toure reporting.
And I am Kemini Nyamani Amano here in the studio. This is news today. We move on to some other stories. And the impatience of a police vehicle driver caused an accident at the Okunglu Junction here in Accra. That's according to an eyewitness. They said the police ran into a salon vehicle on the main Okunglu road, injuring one of the children on board. Though the police was on location, they refused to speak to the news team. One eyewitness, however, gave his account.
Trafficking animal. Anna, animal block here, and the animal block here. To say also mobile. One who's a police for no. Omu di mirika mobile paper. And the driver we know, yeah, now just say or burning him nanka idea. One man police for no crime, but almost mobile no mirika. Omu di mirika speed. People. Who will be omoko. You want some there bought. When the motor driver be crying, Yamin driver motor driver couple a lot. On the finish on so bad. No, see there. Oh, you far. Into woman way. Oh, about any number. I know meeting. I put down crane pra. Whoa, and also there. Oh, you from the bone go out. No, I'm the go out there. I'm the one kind of control. And you say, until I'm far, you know, I come back the far. Because almost no almost got you be they will be a watchom almost got you be almost police one of meeting but also nyabutre na dey almost but almost nyabutre.
News Today returns in a bit. You're welcome back. The Economics Intelligence Unit has ranked Ghana 14th out of the top 20 fastest growing economies in the world according to their forecast for 2014. Despite the positive outlook, the unit is worried the country's over-reliance on commodities coupled with its ballooning fiscal deficits facilitated by a huge wage bill, if not fixed, will plunge the economy into a chaotic situation.
Financial analysts and economists at the Ghana Summit under the auspices of the Economics Intelligence Unit, EIU, indicated that the economic prospects of the West African sub-region were generally good. The Ghanaian economy for them remains one of the strongest performers with an average growth rate of about 7%. The EIU, however, says that it is only half of the story.
Over the next few years, we expect between 7 and 8%, which is actually quite good. But within that, there are some concerns about the imbalances in the economy. Obviously, the big one is the fiscal position. We do expect some improvement there, but the government really does need to be, I think, quite aggressive and clear in setting out a roadmap for how it's going to bring the fiscal position back into order. This is a concern not only for Ghanaians, obviously, but also for the donor community, which have concerns about it, and also other investors. But the key thing is not to depend on commodities for growth. I mean, it's very easy to do so, but then, of course, you're vulnerable to all sorts of things like the movement in commodities, and it doesn't distribute wealth properly, and so on. So use the commodities windfall to invest in manufacturing, the financial sector, the services sector, bringing more people out of the informal labour market into the formal labour market, and so on. And then, of course, once you do that, then you get a much more stable economic growth trajectory.
Ghana's public debt stock is over 50%, considered very high for an emerging market with a weak current account position of $5 billion, covering 3 to 4 months of imports, also seen as low. But government says it is addressing all the challenges, particularly that of the fiscal deficit, to salvage the economy from a shutdown.
We want to divorce the management of government finances from affecting the rest of the economy. That with the increase in the growth of the economy, with the increased GDP, we are going to find that the share of wages in the GDP are going to decline if we don't index the wages to inflation. So that, over time, the next 2-3 years, we'll do that. And we'll also have to look at the numbers. But the second point in which we tackled decisively was the issue of the subsidies. The petroleum, which was the large one, we've completely eliminated subsidies. With respect to the social, to the power and the water, we have taken a decision. Has been protested by unionized labor. We are looking at that because they need to be able to adjust to the changes.
The EIU has meanwhile forecasted Nigeria and China to become large economies, overtaking South Africa and the United States of America, respectively, by 2020.
Ghana dropped 5 places to 67th out of 189 countries in the latest World Bank Doing Business report. The country, which is in the lower middle income bracket, according to the report titled Understanding Regulations for Small and Medium-Scale Enterprises, did not fare well in most of the 10 categories. According to the report, Ghana placed 128th on the ease of starting a business. Data collected indicated that it took a firm 14 days to start a business in the country. The report added that Ghana made starting a business more difficult by requiring entrepreneurs to obtain a tax identification number prior to company incorporation. The report asked that Ghana had not conducted any reform with regards to starting a business. Ghana placed 159th in dealing with construction permits. According to data collected by the Doing Business Report 2014, it takes 246.5 days and also costs 259.6% of income per capita in dealing with construction permits in the country. Over the telephone now is John Gachi. He is a financial analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School. Hello, John.
Hello.
This report, what are your thoughts on it?
If you look at the Ghanaian economy largely, you will come to the conclusion that it reflects some of the challenges that we have in the business environment. Number one, we continue to complain about the processes involved in starting a business in the country. The time that it takes to register a business is still very long, even though a lot of talk have gone into this particular issue, but the result is not remarkable yet. Issues such as getting electricity, we all know, bearing in mind that the result actually used a benchmark of June 2013. The whole of last year and a greater part of this year, we have experienced a lot of problems with respect to power. So it's just a reflection in the report. Registration of property across the country, we all know the problem. Some properties have been registered in many names, only for the real owners to realize later on. And all these things for me, it's just a reflection of the challenges we have been facing in the business environment. The current judgment debt issue that we have been struggling from last year up to date, to the extent that we have set up a sole commissioner to go into the issue, also is a reflection of the weak contract situation in the country. So if you ask me, I would say that it's just a reflection of the challenges we have been facing in the country. The report also look at payment of taxes. And we all know that we have challenges. Sometimes the basic canon of taxation are not actually followed, to the extent that people find it difficult to even locate areas to pay taxes. People find it difficult to walk a long distance to go and file their tax return. We have not introduced much more of electronic payment system or filing system. That actually contribute to a lot of challenges in terms of payment of taxes. So finally, I will again indicate that it's just a reflection of the reform that we need to do in our business environment.
The report also lamented procedures when it comes to starting a business here in the country, and it spoke about the cumbersome nature of going through the process, which includes obtaining a tax identification number. What can we do about this?
Well, I think the issue is not about the inclusion of tax identification number in the process, but how fast the process moves for the one who is interested in establishing a business or to get a business permit. You can have about 10 processes, but if you have one shop, procedure, it's not a problem to the entrepreneur or the one who wants to set up a business. So it's all about how fast the process moves for somebody who is interested in registering a business. So, and this thing can be overcome when we actually introduce more electronic registration into the system. So for me, the items to be covered could even be 50. But if it is possible to deal with those 50 items within a short period of time, business people will be comfortable and they will not complain.
What could be the implication of the cumbersome and somewhat bureaucratic nature of starting businesses here in the country?
Of course, some businesses will engage in economic activity without registering, and the implication is that whatever money they get, we cannot track it for taxation purposes. And these people will continue to cheat the few people who are working with them because they will not want to expose their business activity. These are some of the financial implications that it will have for the nation. And then people who work with this entity may not have security because they will always want to hide their activity. So if we want to capture, and then it encourages what we call the black market economy or the shadow economic activity, which is a bane to any economic system.
Right. Many thanks, John. We'll leave it here for now. John Gachi is a financial analyst and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast Business School, taking us on a quick break. We'll be right back.
My name is Rashida Baba Kadiri. Thanks for making time to listen to the sports segment of JN Today. And it's proudly sponsored by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo. Now, Africa is making us proud, or Nigeria and Ivory Coast are making Africans really proud at the ongoing Under-17 World Cup in the United Arab Emirates. Now, among four African countries that represented the continent, Nigeria and Ivory Coast seem to be proving their critics wrong, marching on, going through to the next stage of the competition. Yesterday, Nigeria walloped Iran by 4-1, and of course, Cote d'Ivoire also recorded a win in their match. Now, let's see highlights of the ongoing FIFA Under-17 World Cup in the United Arab Emirates, featuring Nigeria and Cote d'Ivoire.
Africans, Morocco. It took the Ivorians only 4 minutes to take the lead. Mohamed Saoud was adjudged to have fouled in the penalty area, and Frank Kessie stepped up to power a textbook penalty into the back of the net. Nabil Chadi had a chance for the Moroccans in the 18th minute, only for Sekti Abagate to tip away the effort as the Ivorians took a 1-0 lead into the break. While the Côte d'Ivoire dominated possession in the early moments of the second period, Morocco were more dangerous and duly levelled matters. Juventus striker Yunus Benu Marzouk showed why he is rated so highly.
Marzouk! He's in! Out of nothing! 1-1 here. And the Ivorian shell-shocked. It looked like the chance had gone when Marzouk gave it away. It was presented back to him and he returned it with interest. Game on here in Fujairah.
The Ivorians were back in the lead with a quarter of an hour to go. Junior Ahisan latching onto a horrid back pass and duly capitalized. 2-1 is how things ended, with Côte d'Ivoire continuing their dream run in the UAE, while there was more heartbreak for Morocco.
In the round of 16 of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup, Argentina only needed 90 seconds to find an opening in Tunisia's defence. Ferreira's second goal of the tournament giving his team the start they were after. Tunisia levelled before the break. A perfectly weighted ball escaped the blue and white strip that gave Haj Hassan an opportunity in front of goal. Level at the interval, the North African nation would have fancied their chances, but Argentina put the game to bed in the second period. Joaquin Ibanez scored with a cheeky back heel before Sebastian Driussi found the back of the net with the help of the post. 3-1, the final score that keeps Argentina on course for their first FIFA Under-17 World Cup title.
Right, so Tunisia and Morocco, North African countries, dropping out of the ongoing Under-17 FIFA World Cup in the United Arab Emirates. Nigeria, La Côte d'Ivoire progressing to the next stage of the competition, which is the semi-final stage. Away from that, let's talk about the Capital One Cup that happened in England last night. Arsenal, they were defeated by a Chelsea side that was captained by Ghanaian midfielder Michael Essien. And then Manchester United also recorded a win over Norwich City. Highlights of the English Capital One Cup matches played last night.
Looking to book a place in the quarterfinals of the Capital One Cup, Arsenal and Chelsea did battle in round 4 at the Emirates Stadium on Tuesday night. Both teams went into the match off the back of victories over Crystal Palace and Manchester City, and lie in first and second place on the Barclays Premier League log. The match was without much action in the opening 24 minutes until a defensive blunder, identical to the one committed by Man City over the weekend, allowed Cesar Azpilicueta to pounce and toe-poke the ball past Lucas Fabianski. Nacho Monreal almost pulled one back 4 minutes later after Azpilicueta gave away possession in a dangerous area, but the Spaniards' effort went narrowly wide of goals. Those would be the only notable efforts of the half, as neither side managed to penetrate the other's defence. The match came to life again in the 66th minute as a throw-in from Ryan Bertrand found Samuel Eto'o, whose pass clipped ahead of Willian and landed onto Mata's feet. The Spanish international struck the ball sweetly into the top right.
So Juan Mata and Joan Azpilicueta scoring the 2 goals for Chelsea last night in the Capital One Cup. Now, this year, will it be Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo? Seriously, I do not want either of them to take the Ballon d'Or for the 2013 year running. I'd really want somebody from Bayern Munich, Frank Ribery or Manuel Neuer, who is a goalkeeper for Bayern Munich, to win this year's edition of the FIFA Ballon d'Or. But let's check out the short list of players and coaches who have been named to take that gong at the in FIFA's headquarters in Switzerland later this year.
Became the world's most expensive player when he joined Real Madrid from Tottenham for £85 million after scoring 26 goals last season.
Goes for goal! Oh, what a goal! Who else but from the man of the moment, Gareth Bale?
Bale's Madrid teammate Cristiano Ronaldo won the Ballon d'Or in 2008, but in recent years has missed out to Lionel Messi. Ronaldo scored 53 goals for Real last season, and he's continued his form.
Cristiano Ronaldo, great feat. Cristiano Ronaldo, that is stunning. Absolutely stunning. He is still the man, Cristiano Ronaldo, for Real Madrid.
So Messi is nominated once again. The Barcelona forward has won the award for the last 4 years. Messi finished as La Liga's top goal scorer last season for the second consecutive year with 46 goals. He scored 12 in 10 so far this campaign.
And the little man deliver again. Oh,
So Gareth Bale, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, part of the short list. It also includes Bayern Munich's Frank Ribery, Manuel Neuer, all of them in the squad there. And of course, Jose Mourinho and Arsene Wenger are also in the running for the Coach of the Year award. I wonder what. Well, I really hope they don't get it, because they haven't won anything in Europe, any major tournament in Europe so far. So on that note, I would wrap it up for sports on JN Today. It's proudly sponsored by Tigo. Smile, you've got Tigo. Good afternoon.
You're welcome back, and quickly, just before we go, fugitive senior Muslim Brotherhood leader Esam Al-Arian has been detained by the Egyptian authorities. Prosecutors ordered Arian's arrest in July after the military ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Thanks for staying on. Before we go, a quick recap of our headlines. An energy expert says demand by organized labor for government to review utility tariffs downward would greatly affect electricity production, saying we must bite the bullet and pay now. Ghana drops 5 places to 67th out of 189 countries in latest World Bank Doing Business report. Fugitive senior Muslim Brotherhood detained by Egyptian authorities. My name is Kemini Nyamani Amana. Goodbye.